Ford has some pretty epic hero names in its back catalogue, doesn't it? Names like Explorer, Escort, Mustang, Capri. Oh, I used to love the Capri. As you all know, Ford is bringing those names back and putting them on cars that are nowhere near as heroic as the originals. I mean, the Explorer, it's a good car. It's not really an Explorer. The Mustang, definitely not a Mustang. And today I'm in Germany to see the Capri, which you've guessed it is definitely not a Capri. The Capri was an absolute legend, wasn't it? Ford sold over 1.9 million of them over the 17 years it was in production, and it had and still has a very, very loyal fan base. But we need to forget about that car now. Go on, put it out of your mind. Stop thinking about it, because this Capri is definitely not a low two-door coupe like its predecessor. It is officially a coupe SUV, which, if I'm honest, probably is on the SUV side of that description. It's grown quite a bit, as is the way with today's cars. So now you have to think of the Capri alongside cars like the BMW iX2, the Cupra Tavascan, VW ID.5, instead of it being the European equivalent of the Ford Mustang, which makes me a little sad. But anyway, this car actually does have far more in common with the ID.5 than it does with the original of the 70s and 80s. Let me explain.
You see, the new Capri is basically a Ford Explorer, and that car is basically a Volkswagen. Well, kind of. Underneath the surface of both the Explorer and the Capri lies VW's MEB platform and powertrains, which you may well be familiar with from the IDs 3, 4, 5, the Skoda Enyaq and a whole load more. Ford agreed a tie-up with VW a few years back, so Volkswagen now uses Ford bits for its commercial vehicles, and Ford uses VW bits for its electric passenger cars in an effort to cut development and manufacturing costs.
And that's the reason why we have a Capri that isn't a Capri. Look, it's quite telling. In the marketing info Ford gave me to read earlier, there is a 220-word highlight section, and in that section, just 10 words were devoted to the design to describe it as a soulful coupe SUV. The rest of it focused on boot space, of which there's loads. The safety tech, very impressive. The massaging driver's seats. The sync move technology, which, yes, I know, sounds like something from a plumbing catalogue. The car's secret locker, and its admittedly high levels of tech generally. All of that probably tells you who this car is aimed at, and it is definitely not fans of the original.
Nope, this is a car squarely aimed at families. And these days, Ford thinks that families all want to drive SUVs. Given that SUVs make up almost half of all the cars sold in Europe, they're probably onto something. So you get two versions when it comes to spec. This is the premium, so you get extra kit like a fancy B&O sound system, 20-inch alloys and a hands-free tailgate. But even the entry level is well spec'd, as is so often the way with EVs. So while it's basically the same as the Explorer underneath, it does have a new look. It's longer than the Explorer and more spacious, plus it has a different front and rear design, which aims to give it that sleeker coupe profile. Although, if you look closely, you can spot that the doors and the mirrors, they're exactly the same as the Explorers. That's cost-cutting for you folks.
I've been studying the car, trying to spot nods to the original Capri. The only thing that really stands out for me is this curve in the rear window. Very Capri. Maybe the lights, maybe, because they've got that kind of, twin style, haven't they? Ford's design team have said it's important to them that the silhouette did look like a Capri from the distance. I'm sorry, I can't see that myself. Maybe you can. Let us know in the comments below. Perhaps some similarities are jumping out at you in the way they're not at me. Look, I'm probably being a bit harsh. I think the problem for me is that despite knowing that Ford is bringing back these iconic names and putting them on cars that's nothing like the original, I thought it'd be different with the Capri. It's a car with such a big character, such a kind of reputation. I've got nothing against this car, it's fine. It's another big crossover with a decent sized battery. I just wish Ford had come up with an original name for it, because then we wouldn't have these expectations. I think brands like Mini and MG are doing a great job of reinventing their history for the electric age. Look at the Cyberster as an example of that. It's modern, but it's still an MG Roadster. I just don't love the approach Ford is taking. Anyway, enough of my moaning. Let's talk about performance.
The original Capri was designed to be affordable, fast and fun. With prices that start at £42,000 for the standard range and go up to £52,000, you can rule out the affordable part. As for fun, not really feeling it yet, but it will be fast. Let me put that into perspective. One of the most powerful versions of the Capri was powered by Ford's 3-litre Essex V6, and it had 138 brake horsepower, which made the Capri capable of speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour, and it could do 0 to 60 in around 8 seconds. Well, the dual motor version of this car can manage 0 to 62 in 5.3 seconds, while the single motor, that takes just 6.4. Both versions, the extended range rear-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive, have the same battery capacity as the Explorer, 77 kilowatt hours and 79 respectively. Range, well, that's slightly up on the Explorer, with the single motor managing 389 miles of official range on a full charge. The dual motor, well, that's good for 367. Like the Explorer, a smaller 52 kilowatt-hour battery is also set to join the range in 2025. Now, we expect the Capri will be pleasant to drive, given that Ford have done a good job on that with the Explorer. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't seen Nicola's first drive video of that car here on the channel, please do check it out.
Ford describes the new Capri as the ultimate getaway car. The original car was actually indeed that, because there was a brilliant crime action series called The Professionals that went out in the UK in the late 70s, the 80s. It had fantastic car chases, usually involving a Capri. There were 2 in the series. I used to love it when I was a little girl. Google it, it's well worth a watch. Anyway, this Capri is not that kind of getaway car. You see, what Ford is referring to here is the size of the boot. It's a good getaway car for a weekend away, if you get my drift. Room for your bags. Never works if you have to explain it, does it? Anyway, it does have a very big boot. It's got 520 litres, which is larger than the Explorer. It also beats rivals like the BMW iX2 and the ID.5 and the Tavascan. The rest of it is just like the Explorer, really. The compartment, the seats fold and split, and there's that through loading area. Unlike the Explorer though, you do get a rather handy bin, which you could maybe squeeze your charging cable in. There's no front for that, so they'll either have to go under there or in that. Oh, and on the fancy version, the Capri Premium, you also get a foot-activated boot operator, which of course never works ever, so you just always use that instead. But it's there, and maybe you could get it to work. I know Nicola's not been able to get it to work, and I can never get them to work either. So the back. And look, that is as far as that door opens. It's not that far, is it? Look. I think you'll be cursing Ford when you're trying to get 2 or 3 children in and out of the back into car seats. You could do with just going a few more inches. Of course, here in the back, it's again a familiar story. It's all very Explorer. In here we'll give Ford something, because it is a bit Capri-like with these seats with the integrated headrests and also the black cloth header. And the steering wheel has been given a 6pm spoke in a nod to the Capri. Other than that, it's, yes, you've guessed it, it's all from the Explorer. So it is literally identical. It's got loads of storage, which is very practical. You can move the storage around, so you've got like cup holders that you can fit in if you want to do. I actually think one of the strongest points in the interior is this, the central screen, which tilts to different levels. So they've refreshed the interface from the Mackie. You can use little shortcuts up here. When Nicola and Vicky drove the Explorer. I think they found that these little shortcuts were a bit fiddly. They're not bothering me quite as much. What does impress me though is just how easy and intuitive this is to use. It's a really good system, and it does clever stuff like it will allow you to choose a specific charging network if you're going on a long journey, and it will allow you to filter out the speeds of the chargers that you want, so you're not faffing around. And everything of course syncs to your app on your phone, but will also sync through to a smartwatch as well. And of course it has a party trick. If you've watched the Explorer video, this is not going to surprise you if you haven't. Ta-da! What do you mean? That's it. That is the party trick. It's still quite cute. It's a secret compartment. Secret. Keeping secret things in. Or practically for putting your phone in, or things you don't want to take with you when you leave the car, because that pulls back forward. When you get out of the car, it completely locks it. I think it's quite clever actually. That's my favourite bit of the inside of the car. And I do quite like the 6 PM spoke. Oh, one thing actually I do want to mention, the haptic buttons on the steering wheel and this kind of haptic slider down there. Don't like them. Don't like them in the VW group cars. Don't like them in these. No, this is nice though. I like this. When it comes to charging, again, a very familiar picture. Both batteries manage an impressive 185 kilowatts, not far off the class-leading rapid charging speeds from the likes of Tesla and Kia and Hyundai. It can deliver a 10 to 80% charge in around 26 minutes when you plug into a fast enough charger. 7 kilowatts at home will top it up in around 13 hours. While I'm here at the back, I just want to show you this because it's possibly my favourite bit of the car, the Capri logo. I do like the way that's been introduced, and if you look, it's kind of nice and sort of 3D and hidden behind glass. The Capri was originally marketed with the phrase, the car you always promised yourself. I'm not sure that applies anymore. Would you promise yourself this car? I don't know if I would. The problem is there's so much competition in this market at the moment, with a lot of really established EV brands offering some very appealing cars, and there's loads more to come. Ford has been late to the electrification party, and as well put together as this is, I'm just not sure it's got enough of the coolness of the original Capri to make it stand out from all of those other cars. But as always, our opinion may change when we drive it, and if you want to be the first to know when we do, please do subscribe to the channel, switch your notifications on. Oh, and make sure you check out Nicola's first drive of the Explorer so you can get an idea of what this will be like on the road. It's a very good video, even though I didn't present it and Manos didn't shoot it. But we like it, don't we, Manos?